Hey guys, so I finished this one up last night. Somebody in one of the social media areas, platforms, whatever you want to fucking call them, was like, can you make one of those Rivet Lock Puukko longs in the shape of a katana? So I added a little curve on one of them, and they wanted the curve here. They didn't buy this. They just asked for it to be done. But yeah, I think it's super cool. Pretty neat. You know, if anything, if it's not useful, at least it looks really cool. You know, it's very light. You might have noticed that I haven't made like scales on these, and I haven't wrapped too many handles. It takes a long time to do that, and also nowadays, like, you know, I could just make a whole bunch of these, and there's 3 holes if you want to put some scales. There's a lanyard hole if you want to have a lanyard hole in there. You know, that hole can also be used to do a katana wrap. And if you want to, you know, there's nothing stopping you from doing like an actual wooden, using this like a rat tail, having this inside a wooden handle, you know, with a pin in there. There's not, you know, so this is like, it's a rat tail, it's a full tang, it's a katana wrap handle, it's a, you know, you can do any type of handle you want on there yourself too, you know. Nothing's stopping you. So this is just the whole Rivet Lock Puukko series is kind of like that. I want to make a knife that's completely usable in full steel, but also that I can, you know, stack up on my website and have available to anybody. And then, you know, this is like the cheapest, you know, with the sheath. This is like the most affordable. You know, it's you know, these are 90 euros each right now at this, like this. So that's like a super good price for a knife like this. You know, and again, it's one of these models that I hope I can get a manufacturer to build someday, so then, you know, I don't have to work super hard. I can get some little royalties off it, but it doesn't matter. That's a topic for another time. It's just that for now, it looks really, really cool on camera. Actually, I'm really digging that look. It's a little bit shorter actually than my personal one, but that's because my personal one has the shortest handle. It has the handle length on my, this is number 1, this is 001, has the same length as the Rivet Lock Puukko's mediums. And that was just to test, like, is that too small for a big knife like that? And it is a little too small. There's no doubt about that. So, I've made the latest ones that I've been forging, they actually have curved handles. So I might even be able to go back to the standard, I think it was 11 centimeters from here, right where my nail is touching, this from there to the end. So when it's curved, it should be totally fine. So we'll see. I got a whole bunch more coming out, but the upward curve like this is also super duper nice. Well, I almost dropped the blade. So that actually feels right. So, and now you got 2. So if you know, if you're practicing the Eskrima, this is like, it's almost mall ninja, but it can't be mall ninja because you can't buy these in a mall, you know. This is like countryside ninja. But you can also see how the surface does wear, you know. I like to keep it black like this, so one of the reasons why I leave it like this, so I do all the work before quenching, then I quench it, and I leave it like this, and then I put the edge on. And the reason for that is also that for the customer, for somebody like you, you can see that I quenched the whole thing. I got the whole thing hot, and I quenched the whole thing properly. So there's no cheap tricks here with the heat treating. So, and it also acts as an excellent rust resistant. When you got this clean, burned oil kind of finish, it's an excellent rust resistant. You can have it outside for quite a long time before any type of rust. The edge, the exposed metal, will have some rust, but like this, it's almost basically the same as stainless steel, if not even sometimes even stronger than stainless steel, because it's oil. And I remember sticking a knife to a door out here, and it was there for 2 years, and there wasn't any rust developing on the burned oil, just the edge. So it is very good. It's an excellent excellent finish. But again, it makes my life easier, but it proves two things. It proves that the whole thing was heated up and heat treated properly. And it also proves, that was the second thing I wanted to prove, it also proves that there's very little post-hardening machining done that could have a negative impact on the overall heat treatment of the steel, the metallurgy. Because if I were to go over some machines after the heat treat to, you know, do some more grinding, get some more polish or whatever after the heat treat, there's a chance that steel may have been burnt, and we don't know about it. Nobody would know about it. So there's actually a lot of reasons why I do keep this Rivet Lock Puukko series like this intentionally, and it's a mark. It's to tell you that this is properly made, and that there aren't any hidden, you know, silly heat treating tricks. So I'm just going to heat up the edge, or I'm only going to quench the blade. You know, I get kind of a cringe when I see people, they heat up the blade, they quench the blade, and then the handle is like cold as heck. It's as cold as it can be. That scares me a little bit, because you see that on swords. Whoa, you see that on swords a lot. People will heat up the whole blade, quench the blade, and what about the tang? Don't you want the tang to be tough? Don't you want the tang to be hard? Don't you want, you know? Okay, that's like a whole other area of discussion, because even at the sort of epitome of sword forging, they would actually make the tangs out of iron and the choils out of iron. So actually most of that would have been iron, and then the rest would have been steel, so that when you're replacing handle materials, you can continue filing new surfaces down. If you're trying to fit a new guard on there, you can actually work with it even though the blade is hard. So there's actually a lot of benefits to having a not super hard sort of transition from the blade. But those are like rapiers and stuff and high-end swords. When it comes to this, this is like the best spring steel in the world. This is some German spring steel. You kind of want to have the whole thing as tough as possible, and heat treating the whole thing, heating up the whole thing, austenizing the whole thing, heat treating the whole thing. That's just the right thing to do. It's just the professional approach to knife making. It's just metallurgically the most competent way to do things. And I'm proving to you here by this being black that this whole thing was properly heated, properly taken to temperature, properly quenched, and that also the machines didn't touch it afterwards, so there's no like machine burn potential anywhere around it. So that's kind of like another thing to consider with these knives and the way and how I make them. So this is a really clean one. It came out really well. The sheath isn't also doing any scratches on it, which is also super nice, because often there's a bit of scratching from the sheaths. There isn't really much I can do about that. That's also kind of like, that's one of those solutions, those remedies you can just do by, lowering the price a little bit. Like, if I put a maximum effort into making sure that there's, absolutely everything is 100% perfect, then, they'd be $200, $300, $400 knives. And I think for me personally, as a professional bladesmith, knife maker, my interest is in you getting a solid tool that makes sense, that you can, use, and you're anyway going to bash around. Like, I would much rather, like in the story I was saying in a video, the whittling video, where, one of the inspirations from this knife wasn't just talking with Eskrima guys, but it was also this friend of mine in town who showed me one of his blades that he had for like 15-20 years, and it was just this full steel, blacksmith's knife with a steel handle, and the whole spine had been completely caved in, because when he batons with a hammer. And I realized, like, that's what people need, that's what people want. They want something that's affordable, that's nice, it's forged, it's nice, handmade. People want this kind of cool shit. They really want something cool, but they also want to be able to abuse the crap out of it, right? They just want to use it like a wedge when they want to. They want to make a fire when they want to, so that's kind of like where I'm trying to go with these Rivet Lock series, is that, yeah, it's like an expensive Mora or a cheap high quality knife. Like it's like, the full steel Rivet Lock Puukko medium, they're like 60 euros each. Anybody can put their own handle on there. You don't even need to sometimes. Depends on, what type of person you are. But here in this particular case, I don't want to veer too far off a standard design. I like them straight, and I like the handles to be in a specific way too, but somebody was like, you have to do this, that would be really, really cool. Even though they weren't going to buy it, I thought it would be really, really cool. Look at how nice that is on camera at this angle with the sunlight. Isn't that neat? I wasn't expecting this to actually come out so good. There is one thing you got to be watch out for, is if you're doing this, you could poke yourself in your shoulder if you're doing that. That's kind of like the trouble with these short, super curved blades. I mean, it doesn't do it here, but if it was even more curved, you could easily, if you're going for a, if you're going for a hack like that, you got to be careful with that. And I think that's not even so much the curve of the blade, but the curve of the handle that kind of does that. But either way, it's kind of like feels like fighting with a saber. I don't know if you can see that. So it feels super natural, and then, yeah, it's just really neat blade. And it's like 220 grams or something. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.